So I sort of have to laugh for this prompt because I came up with it. I'm like, that sounds like a great one. And I'm like, this is so hard. Why did I come up with this one? Hello friends, happy Wednesday. So very excited to be here. So excited to be showing my face. Not having a YouTube short like I have, the past 3 weeks I think it's been. Very, very thankful. Feeling a lot better. Still have like a little bit of congestion, but like it is 10 times better than what it was last week. I'm also really grateful that I'm having no more side effects. I had some really crazy side effects to my head cold medicine. So my video coming up this Friday is going to be a review. That was like the day that I had the worst effects, and filming that video actually tuned me in to how bad the effects actually were. I have not actually gone on that video or like looked at that video, started editing it to see if it's okay, if I can post it or not, because I felt very, very loopy, but not anymore. We're gonna be talking about some books, one manhwa, because I just had to include it, even though literally, once again, I almost do this every Top 5 Wednesday where I have my list and I'm like, you know what? Toss out the list. Let's do something else. But thankfully, it's just one. But in case if you're not familiar with Top 5 Wednesday, in a nutshell, basically each week I answer a prompt using 5 books, but in this case I do manga to reflect the said prompt. And today's prompt is books everyone should read once. It doesn't matter if like somebody's an avid reader or maybe like a casual reader of like one book a year. Every single person, in my opinion, has a book or series that they adamantly feel every person should read once in their lifetime. And so today we're talking about those books of what series do we feel people need to read, even if it's just one time and they never come back to it again. I struggled with this because it just felt intimidating in the sense what I may feel is like a staple and everyone needs to read, not everyone else will feel the same way. So I sort of did like a staples of shoujo manga of like things I've heard people say and also that I feel is true or I just feel this way personally. So I'm sort of gonna say not a genre, but what I feel, and then I will say a manga that fits that staple. Hopefully that makes sense. My honorable mention will be a manhwa. It's not shoujo manga, but I still wanted to include it because I feel everybody should read this one. Let's go ahead and dive in. So I feel like for the first staple, even though these are all in like random order, is I feel everyone should read an Iyosaki Saka manga at least once. That doesn't matter if it's Strobe Edge, Oh Haru Ride, Let Me Not, or her latest one, Sakura Saku. For this video, I'm going to feature Let Me Not because I recently read it, obsessed. I feel like this is her best work yet. I feel like that is just saying a lot because I loved Oh Haru Ride. I know it gets a lot of mixed feelings in the community, and I think it's because if you watch the anime doesn't, adapt entire series, and so it sort of leaves where you're satisfied but not fully satisfied, at least in my opinion. Now, I love the anime so much, but I love the manga. It's very messy in the middle, but I really love our leads. I feel like they are just so realistic, and I feel like that for all of Iyosaki Saka's manga, that her characters feel so lifelike. They make real decisions that are not always the smartest thing, but I feel like if that was a real person in real life, I could see them making the same kind of decisions. So I feel like her characters are always relatable because of that. And the reason I wanted to feature Let Me Not, first off, why is nobody like actively promoting this series? Because I feel like for all of her series, it's really under the radar, and I'm like, why? Because I was so impressed by this manga. Like, I loved everything about it. I mean, there was like one scene that I wasn't super fond of, but I didn't feel like it was super bad. It wasn't definitely a deal breaker or anything. But that was like the only volume I gave 4 stars. Everything else I gave 5 stars. And the reason I think this series is so great and more people need to be talking about it so that I wasn't like pushing it off, is because I love how this series centers around 2 female heroines, and they're very, very different, very much opposites, but they not overcome those like opposites attracts kind of thing. But there was a quote, I don't have the quote on me, but in that review, there is a quote that I said that wraps up this manga perfectly. So if you're wanting to hear more about this, definitely check out my review come Friday. I am very, very excited about it. This series was very impactful to me, and I feel like all of Iyosaki Saka's manga are that way. I know that I did talk about in my reading wrap-up that I was not hugely invested into Sakura Saku. I know a lot of people are loving it, and I am so deeply excited and happy for everybody that is. I do not think it's a bad manga. I've had people ask me, well, what did you not like about it? And I have never felt like that is a more wrong question than in that moment. It wasn't that I did not like it or there was something wrong with it. I just didn't fully love it as I have her other series. So it's not a bad series. I would still recommend it. It just didn't blow me away the same way Love Me Dot did, Straw Bitch, and Our Ride. So read any of her series. They're all very different. They all explore different, not forms of love, but different people who view love differently and find out what love is and what that means to them personally. And I love that running theme. I love how every series, it may have like similar tropes maybe, but each one is very different. Each heroine is very different. And I just really adore Iosaki Saka's manga because of that. It's always heartfelt, it's always moving, and it's always just really speaks loudly, I feel like, when it comes to the themes and when it comes to the overall story. So Iosaki Saka is a must read for every single person in my opinion. For number 2, I am saying another creator or creators, and that is Sue Morishita. I feel like every person needs to read Sue Morishita. We have 3 different choices, but the one I'm actually going to be saying is A Side of Affection because the anime is ongoing. I am woefully behind on the anime. I can only do like 1 anime a season, and I chose 7th Time Loop, which I'm now behind on, but that's sort of because where the content is in the anime, it's past what I've read in the manga, so I'm sort of like, I want to read the manga first and then come back and finish like the last 2-3 episodes. But we have A Side of Affection and then Short Cake, which I love. I will do a review on this series at some point since I've read it so many times. And then the latest one, Like a Butterfly, which was technically I think their first work, and then it was Short Cake, and now the ongoing series of A Sign of Affection. This is another creator. I mean, they're a duo creator, and I did talk about them in that like duo mangaka. They are amazing. Their art is amazing. They write such heartfelt stories as well, and I feel like all 3 series are very different from one another, and the heroines are very different, but they're all very inspiring, and I feel like the heroes are just very swoon-worthy. Though the hero in this one, I'm blanking, he's right here, I'm blanking on his name. He's gotta make some more progress, I feel like, before he can get counted as a swoon-worthy hero, but he's doing his best, and I really like him because I do feel like he is different. Itsuomi, like, he's very different as well. But they're all great, and I feel like the biggest thing that I love about their series is I just get so swept away in the storytelling, so swept away in the art, and seeing where these characters are gonna take me. What kind of emotional adventure will I have because of them? Every time I'm picking up their work, I'm always reading it numerous times. I don't think I've reread Like a Butterfly numerous times, but yes, Short Cake and A Side of Affection. Done that more times than I could count of rereading these series because it just speaks to me, and I don't really know I don't think I could say exactly, well, this one certain thing spoke to me, because I feel like it's just a combination of things, and I feel like maybe that could be different for every reader. So I would just say, pick it up and try for yourself to see what speaks to you. I feel like if you want a college-themed romance, A Side of Affection would be it. A Short Cake. If you want a boarding house romance, Like a Butterfly. If you want 2 introverts and them having a romance, it's very, very awkward at times, and there is a little bit of secondhand embarrassment, which I don't ever usually feel when reading, even if like the characters make really embarrassing choices. But I did feel that a little bit in Like a Butterfly, but I really, really enjoy it. It's very much slower pace than I feel like Short Cake and Side of Affection. It can be harder to see the development that the leads are having, but they do have that development. And I definitely think that's another strong point of Sumo Ishita's work, is that the characters always go through like these great, not transformations, it's more of like a casual, slow burn development of each and every character that's in the series, but especially for the leads, I have really loved it. I just love their work so much. Maybe I was not able to say an exact thing of here's why you should read it. It's just more of like, here's why you should read it because I love it. So, which is a reason, but I was hoping for a little bit something more, but hopefully that makes sense. Yes, I love their work very much, and I definitely feel like everyone needs to read at least one of their series once in their lifetime. For number 3, I don't know how to talk much about this one, in the sense I feel like every person should read a classic shoujo. What a classic shoujo is, I don't fully know. I feel like sometimes people would say a classic changes for each person, but I feel like majority of classics, when I went with classic isekai shoujo specifically, so like Red River, Fushi Yugi, I think I said that right, that's another shoujo isekai, sort of like the grandmothers, let's say grandfathers, but the grandmothers of these genres. Are these genres? genre? Is isekai considered a genre? But I say all of that because for a classic shoujo that I'm going with, specifically isekai, I'm saying From Far Away. Also, Red River is another classic, and it is getting republished in a 3-in-1. So there is definitely, hopefully, going to be a rise in these classic manga like From Far Away that really were some of the first, I feel like, shoujo manga to come into the States and really put shoujo manga maybe on the radar, at least for Viz, since Viz is the one that published this. But I went From Far Away because, again, going with the classic vibes, I feel like there's something so special about this series, and I did review this last year. It's the only out-of-print series there for the longest that I was collecting. As you can see, I have most of it, and then I did, wait, right here, I did get a Malaysian bootleg version because I was very curious, and I was like, I'm not paying $200 for an actual out-of-print volume. I'm just gonna see how it goes. I was actually really impressed with the quality, to be honest. But besides that, I really love this series, and I feel like it's just a special feeling or experience to come back to a manga that has been the one that paved the path for other shoujo or other manga to come into the US. This is a really interesting isekai. I feel like a lot of the isekai that we have today, regardless of the demographic, a lot of the characters are OP, or they have a lot of, I guess shortcuts would be the right word, in the sense of they already know the language. They easily have resources provided to them without having to go do the extra work, and a few other things that just makes it smooth sailing, which isn't a bad thing because I don't mind always reading that. But From Far Away, Noriko, she doesn't know the language. She's being hunted after right now, and she is completely lost. She misses her home, and nothing is easy for our wonderful, sweet Noriko. And that is really odd, where this is the only shoujo manga, only isekai manga I've ever read, where the main character had to learn a language in another world. Like, she just didn't just know it. There was no automatic translator for her. It is so cool to see how Noriko tackles this struggle and tackles the things that are happening in this world and how it's impacting her, because there's a prophecy that's been spoken about her. It's just like, I'm just a high school girl, that she comes to see that maybe she gets scared often, maybe she doesn't feel like she's that powerful. She is more than just this label of, I'm just a high school girl who can't do anything. No, she comes to see her own self-worth and her own value, and I absolutely adored it. So I think there's a special kind of thing that's said and said about just classic manga, whether that's isekai or not. But again, I went with the classic shoujo isekai because I love the series, and I feel like it's the only classic that I actually have on my shelf from a series that came out, I think in like the early 2000s, I believe. Okay, it came out in Japan in like 1991, 1992, but it didn't come over to the States until 2004. So I'm thankful for manga like this, and that I'm really just glad that I read it because the art style is very different from what we have now. So that is also a very special experience. So I definitely agree with a lot of people that say you need to just try one classic shoujo, just one, because it's different, but it's a good kind of different, and it just gave me a lot of happy feelings being able to read this series. So I will stop my ramble there. Every person needs to read a classic shoujo manga, and my nomination for that is From Far Away, which is so good. For number 4, I feel like this is a given. Maybe it's different now, but I feel like for a lot of us when we were growing up, Magical Girl, that was one of the staples. That was one of the things that got you in maybe to animes such as Sailor Moon, which was definitely one of my gateway animes. So I had to say, for number 4, another staple shoujo manga that I feel every person should read is a Magical Girl manga. I'm going to say Magic Knight Rayearth because unfortunately it's the only Magical Girl manga that I have actually read from start to finish. I have read a little bit of Sailor Moon, but I have not technically read the series. I've only seen the original anime that came out whenever, and maybe like just random clips, or not random clips, but like random screenshots from the manga, just one of them, I don't know. I am gonna go with, yeah, Magic Knight Rayearth because I love this. I did review this on my channel as well. It's the only like special kind of box set that I've ever gotten that was hardcover. 100% worth it. This is by Clamp, and I decided to do with the art book because I really love all 3 of our main girls here, and I'm very excited that this is getting physically released. Yeah, it's getting physically released, but in paperback. I didn't think about that. I was like, how? But I mean, you still can get the hardcover, but now it's like more accessible in being, you know, in paperback and being for a cheaper price. The art in this series is just, I'll do one that's like not a cover. Here we go. Is so stunning. Like the attention to detail and how everything comes together in this world. It's definitely another series where these three girls go into another world and nothing is being handed to them. They don't have their armor yet, but yet they are the saviors, the magic knight rayers or magic knights, to help save this other place. But they're like, how do we even go about that? Like, they're willing to fight. They have the heart to do it, but they have no magic, no swords, no weapons. And they're like, we don't know what to do. And when they first enter, they're literally falling from the sky to this other world. I think they're about to just die. They don't, thankfully, and they do get help even from this guy right here, if you can see him. But it is very interesting. I don't know if this would be considered like a classic manga, but I love it so much. Sorry, I was wondering what that was in the background. I was like, what is that? It's been a while actually since I've looked through this art book, but it is so heartfelt, and I feel like there's just something so special about magical girls. One of my goals is, if not this year, next year, to read, is it Tokyo, not Meow Meow, Mew Mew? Tokyo Mew Mew? I have volume 1 digitally. I bought it when it was like for free on a sale. I know my library has the entire series, but it's a magical girl manga that I really want to read because I just love seeing young women in these magical girl manga rise up against the odds that people would say they can't do it, or, you know, they're this and that, and then they do, and they have these beautiful hearts of gold. That doesn't mean they may not argue or they don't cry and whatnot, but they always rise up together and they conquer and defeat the bad guy. It is so fun to see it, and especially like the transformations, and this series has some epic transformations. I would say it's Magical Girl meets Gundam with lots of epic magic and other fun things that are happening, and very, very good friendship and very beautiful and stunning and amazing art. I was not planning to do like an art book flip through, but here we are because I'm just like, it's so wonderful to see them. I have not actually reread Magic Knight Rayearth in a really long time, so it's really good just to see all the pictures and just come back to this story. So every person read some magical girl manga, watch some magical girl manga, be blown away by all of the heroines, all of their awesomeness, and the wonderful things that they do. It is such a special experience, and very thankful that I have at least read one magical girl manga. I really need to make the steps to change that. So if you have any magical girl manga that you would recommend that you love, totally let me know. For number 5, I don't know how true this is for every single person, to be honest, but I wanted something very different than my other picks because I love fierce, strong shoujo heroines that have lots of compassion, very inspiring characters. I love that. But I get not everybody loves that though. Not everybody wants to have a very sweet, fluffy shoujo heroine. So I was like, okay, I guess for staples of shoujo that I would say everybody should maybe, I guess, read once is a trashy manga, because I do feel like most people that I've talked to have read that one series where they're like, everybody is a hot mess, you have plenty of garbage characters, and you're just like, this is just a dumpster fire that's happening and has no signs of slowing down or stopping. It just keeps growing. So to fit that, for number 5, I am saying No Longer Heroine. It's funny because I have tried other trashy series and not like it. I really like my admirable heroines, but Hattori is not one. She does not make good decisions. Nobody in this series makes good decisions. I mean, Hattori, will give her credit where credit is due. The last volume, I think it was volume 5, she did actually really surprise me with her decision making, because I'm like, wow, girl, that was a lot for you. That was a big step. But for majority of the series, yeah, nobody is making good decisions, and you're gonna get very frustrated with a lot of characters because it's like, what are you doing? One of those series where you're like, I'm gonna keep reading and just cringe a whole bunch of the inside. But I laugh a lot when reading the series because it is very, very funny. Hattori's expressions are gold, and I need to find one because I thought there'd be one that popped up and it didn't. Here we go. Here's one. There's so many, plenty of expressions that she makes that are just absolute gold that you just cannot help but laugh. Laugh and be like, girl, what are you doing at the same time? I don't know how I want this series to end. I do know how it ends because I looked up spoilers really long time ago because I didn't know if I was going to read it because it got licensed and everybody was like, this is a horrible manga. Why did they do this? But it's really funny. And if you just don't want anybody to read about characters making good decisions, No Longer Heroine, it's one you should definitely read. So I guess if you need a dumpster fire manga, I'm highly recommending No Longer Heroine and all of the toxic drama that happens at the beginning of the series and what goes down. I shock myself every time of how much I love it because I've tried other series and I'm like, no, no. No, but this one, I'm like, yeah, I eat it up like it's candy. So I guess if you need something different and I guess want to read something with not great characters, here is your staple for a dumpster fire kind of manga. For honorable mention, as I shared before, it is a manhwa. And the reason I chose this one is because I really feel like the villainous manga are just everywhere. Like, you can't go to the store without seeing multiple villainous manga, and I love it. I know a lot of people are like tired of the villainous isekai. Nope, keep it coming. Keep it coming full steam ahead. I love it. But if I felt there was one villainous manhwa that I feel like is better than all the rest, even though I love so many of them, this manhwa is it. You probably know what I'm going to say, and that is Penelope from Villains Are Destined to Die. Villains Are Destined to Die. This is the best villainous story I've ever read. It is so good. I love Penelope so much. She is one of my favorite female characters I've ever read. I admire her decision making so much. I'm like, girl, you're amazing. You could do no wrong. Though there was one time, or there is a time right now, I'm actually like, Penelope, I'm not vibing with your decision right now. But this is such an engaging villainous story, and I think it stands out above all of the rest because a villainous means that there is a heroine who's out to come get the villainous, though there's no heroine in this one, but well, yeah, there is. But anyway, there's a character that's out to slay the villain or the villainous. The villain or the villainous has to be taken down, right? Like, this is just traditional storytelling. The villain cannot win at the end of the day. And with that said, Penelope consistently, always, for the past 6 volumes, has found herself time and time again in situations where her life looks like it's about to be snuffed out. I don't know how many times. And I'm like, good, Penelope's good. No worries, we're good, Penelope. We are good. And the next page is like, no, Penelope is not okay. Like, I'm genuinely afraid for her, especially at the beginning. There's just multiple times. And I am like, wow, she's trying to keep herself alive because when she gets reincarnated into this game, into an otome game, the love interests have a meter over their head for the entire duration of the story. It's not like, oh, this is just the beginning. No, she has this the entire series so far. I'm trying to find right here. So they have these meters above their head and they're all at 0. And if they go below 0 or a certain point, Penelope goes bye-bye and she will not be alive anymore. She's doing everything she can to get this meter up, while this game is totally against her and puts her in these scenarios where it's like, are you really honestly trying to take Penelope out? Because she's doing her best right now. And so that's where the story's going. She's trying to get this meter to 100%, because if she can get it to 100%, guaranteed she will live, that she can marry, live with that love interest and be okay. Too bad almost all of the love interests are unhinged, all of them, and Penelope's life is always in the line with any of them. So you really just don't know what's going to happen. So I really, really love this series so incredibly much. I am so crestfallen that we are caught up to, like, currently that there's no physical volume on the horizon. Volume 7, thought about reading online, but you know, I read My Secretly Hot Husband, last December. I bought like a bunch of chapters. So I have no self-control when it comes to like Tappy Tunes. So I'm like, no, stay away, Lara, because your girl just doesn't have any restraint. I need to know what's going to happen next, so here's the money. But I feel, yes, this is the best villainous manhwa I've ever read, villainous story. The storytelling is perfect. It is everything, and I love it so much, and I felt like it had to be recommended. That I feel if you are a villainous manhwa manga fan, you have to read Villains Are Destined to Die. I will stand on that hill forever. I will not be unconvinced of any other series that can top it. Even with all the series that I've read and really enjoy, there is just something I have never found anywhere else like I have this series. And that is where I will end, because then I will be here for another 10 minutes talking about why you should go read it. I love it. I love all of these. I hope I did them all justice. I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some shoujo manga staples or just some books in general that maybe you feel every person needs to read at least once? I would love to hear from you. Let me know down below. Come convince me that, hey, I need to go read this. Make my wallet cry, but make me happy. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!